Good morning, students. So, welcome to ARK Reflections IAS. So, today we'll quickly glance the newspaper of today. So, starting with March net foreign investments decline. So, this is very important news for the economy perspective. So, in the March, so we have a net foreign investment decline. We can clearly see, especially in the FII, foreign institutional investments and foreign portfolio investments. We have seen almost they have taken more than they invested. So they have from the FDI we got around $1.6 billion of investments, and the FII, the financial institutional investments, they have taken almost around $13.6 billion from the out of the country. So which is a very serious concern for our economy and which impacts our the rupee value when it compares to the dollar. So next important article which we can see, the birth rate, infant deaths fall. So there is one report, sample registration survey. So they have compared the figures between the 2020, 2014 and the 2024. And they have observed that India achieved low death rate and also low birth rate when it compared to the 2014 data. So what are the important factors which impacted this change? We'll discuss that. And next important article. So when it comes to the editorials, we have two important articles. The cyber warfare is outpacing the global legal accountability. Like we have seen the present ongoing war in the West Asia, that US plus Israel versus the Iran. So this war, what happened on the surface, which we see that the jet fighters, missiles, and these bombs, drones, we have seen these things. But underlying this, the cyber warfare is also going on simultaneously. So what are these cyber warfare when it comes to the present warfare, and how the countries should tackle? How the countries should tackle and be prepared for that. So we will discuss that. And next important article which we will discuss was, so around this article, especially the PM Europe trip. So what we get from the Europe trip, because our Prime Minister Modi, he visited the Nordic countries, and also he held the India Nordic Summit, and along with he visited especially the UAE and also the Netherlands. So we'll also discuss what is the outcome, what is the important agreements we have made. So we'll discuss all of these. Yeah, this article will discuss March 2026 are the net foreign investments minus $11.7 billion. So rupee rises 76 paisa to close 95.60. Again, yesterday the rupee falls. Like yesterday in the newspaper, it was $1 is equal to 97 rupee. But today, as per the yesterday's news, so the rupee got appreciation. Why? There are two important reasons why the rupee got appreciated. Because the US government have seen that the talks with the Iran is going very smooth way, in a positive way. So that helped the rupee to get appreciated. And next, the possible RBI intervention. The possible RBI intervention. These are the two important reasons why the rupee got appreciated as it is a reverse trend. We have seen from last few days the rupee value is falling, but suddenly it has some appreciation. So as we discussed, there are two reasons. One, the positive talks with Iran, and the next important reason was possible RBI intervention. The possible RBI intervention in the rupee falling. These are the two things. Yesterday we have a classical debate in the yesterday's newspaper. Maybe if you have noticed, the classical debate between what is a weak rupee, what is a strong rupee, whether the RBI has to intervene or not. Some economists, some experts, they are telling, like Geeta Gopinath, she recommended that RBI should not intervene in the rupee depreciation or the rupee appreciation, that let the market decide. But some experts, they believe that RBI should not allow completely rupee to fall. So that is what yesterday there is one article about the classical debate between the weak rupee and falling rupee. What is a weak rupee and what is a falling rupee? How it affects our economy. So these are the important articles which we can see. And next article. Yeah, these are the important articles. We'll go in a detailed discussions of each of this article. Okay. So starting with this one important article, India Cyprus elevate the bilateral ties to strategic partnership, impact for the defense cooperation, which means in future we might expect, the possible Indian defense exports, Indian made defense exports to Cyprus. Why the Cyprus is very important? The Cyprus is very important for India as it is opening the Mediterranean gate for India, and also it can act as a European gateway. And at present, the European Council was headed by the Cyprus, because every 6 months, one European country will take the head of the European Council and the European Union, as we can clearly see. So, if the Cyprus became as it now, the head of European Union, so we have made a deal, European Union FTA deal, like India EU FTA deal. So we can fully utilize the best diplomatic relations with the Cypriot. So we have seen that yesterday the Cypriot president Nikos Christodoulos, so he visited the New Delhi and he made certain agreements with India. So why the Cyprus is very important? Why the Cyprus is very important? One of the very important cause was it facilitates as a gateway for India in the Mediterranean. So very important. So it facilitates a gateway for India to the Mediterranean region, especially the Greece and all this Mediterranean region. And also it paves the way as it opens gates for the European Union also. So India also strongly said that, so India respects the sovereignty and territorial integrity of any nation. So if there is any problem with this territorial integrity and sovereignty, India is ready to support that, because Cypriot is always continuously fighting in a war. So ongoing the border tension with the northern Cyprus, which is controlled by Turkey. Okay, so we can see the map here. So this is the Cypriot, the present Cyprus. So at present, this is the northern Cyprus region, which is under the Turkish control. As we see that recently, the Turkish government and the Turkish statesmen, they are continuously poking their nose in the Kashmir issue. Why? To support Pakistan. So that's why, to support Pakistan, they are continuously poking their nose in the Cyprus issue. So that's the reason why the India have to involve in the Cyprus region. Okay. So next important article. So birth rate, infant deaths fall in India, finds survey. So we can clearly see this is very important change. There is one recent survey from the sample registration survey, the SRS survey, the sample registration survey. Here they observed two clean things. So one, comparing to the 2014 and the 2024. In the 2014, there are more births and more deaths. As the data say, comparing to the nearly out of 1,000, the more out of 1,000, the births was around 21. And in the 24, these 21 births of 1,000 males and females, so it was nearly 18. It was decreased. You see, after 10 years, the birth rate was decreased. And when it comes to the death rate, and this is also decreased. Why? The possible important reasons for this was, the possible important reasons for this low birth and low death. What are the possible reasons? The possible reasons will be, so improving in the healthcare, improvement in the healthcare in many ways, like the public sector healthcare also improved, public sector, along with the government nutrition facilities. So government like nutrition facilities for the pregnant women, and also the ASHA workers. So these volunteers which helps to bring as which they acted as a bridge to connect the government policies along with to the like the pregnant women, especially they provided some good nutrition and they have taken the proper care and also increased the institutional deliveries, because in the 2014 the institutional deliveries is very low. Institutional deliveries is very low. So these are the important reasons why the birth rate and the death rate has decreased. Even the death rate from 29 it came down to 28. So and among all these things, so who is the star? So Kerala registered low birth rate and low death rate, as we can clearly see here. So here also we can see, like, birth rate from 21 it came down to 18.3, death rate 6.7 to 6.4, and infant mortality rate, even the infant mortality rate is from 39 to 24. Among all this, all the states, Kerala has a single digit infant mortality rate. On an average, we have the infant mortality rate was 24 as of now, on an average in India. But especially the Kerala is the star in the infant mortality rate, which attained only 8 deaths out of 1,000. Okay, out of 1,000. So these are the important news. So next, India successfully testified the Agni-1 ballistic missiles. So we have so India is very well known for its missile development program, in integrated guided missile development program. So IM, integrated guided missile development program. So in this program, so India has developed 5 missiles. In that 5 missiles, so Agni is very important missiles. And very recently, a few weeks back, there is one test for Agni 5 based on MIRV technology. Multiple independent re-entry vehicles. So like with one single missile, which you can target like 3 to 4 cities. So Indian MIRV, like the Agni 5, which is capable of, which can travel like 3 to 12 warheads. 3 to 12 warheads. And it is as good as compared to the Minuteman, which is the largest and the most powerful missile of the US, and also the smart. There is one missile for Russia, which is also very long-range missiles. Even those missiles which can carry around max 16 warheads. So even the Indian Agni 5, which can carry the 3 to 12 warheads, as depends on the payload and the necessity and need. Okay. So yesterday, so they have tested the Agni-1 ballistic missile, and what is the range of the Agni-1 ballistic missile? It's 1,000 kilometers is the range. But very soon this was replaced by the Agni Prime. So very important for the current affairs news, Agni Prime, which replaces the Agni-1 missile, but still India is testing that, and India also announced the replacement. Next, March 2026 saw the net foreign investments decline to $11.7 billion. Very, very important news. So simply what we can tell, so what the foreign investments we received in March, if it is 100 rupees, so, and what is the amount of the foreign investment which is taken from India is around more than 1,000 rupees. So which it will widen the current account deficit or not? Definitely it will widens the current account deficit, which is not very good for India's economy, and also which impacts the fall of the rupee. As we seen that from every day we can see like around from the 83 rupees. So the dollar value, as like in the January it is like 83, 84 rupees or 85. So from that time, that in a very short span, in 3 months of short span or 4 months of short span, so rupee has fallen almost to 97 rupees. In yesterday's the currency rate, so it started at 97, but first time it got appreciated and it stopped around 95.60. Okay, and so RBI published the report that from the foreign investments. Net foreign investment means, so the money incoming minus outgoing. So this is the net foreign investments. So foreign investors investing in India, the foreign investments coming in 1 month, and the foreign investments taken from India in the same month. So that is the net. The net foreign investments was around minus 11.7 billion. 11.7 billion. But what happens? But the FDI investors, they invested in $1.6 billion in March. So we have clearly two types of investors here. We can see clearly two types of investors. One is FDI and one is FII. So FDI is a long-term investors. Long-term. For example, very soon, like the Microsoft is opening one data center, or the Google is opening one data center. Those are all comes under the FDI, because that is a long-term investment in constructing some company or some institution. Like that, these are the long-term investors. So, and the FII is a short-term. So what they do, they invest in bonds or stocks. So they invest in bonds and stocks. So these FI investors, they always wait for the short-term gains. If they are not seeing any short-term gains, what they do, this resell their investments, and they have taken all this. They will take all that money back to their country, and they will invest in the places where they will get more profit. So this is very short-term, and the liquidity flow will be more in these short-term investments only. As with the recent scenario, as India is very energy-dependent nations, so definitely the current account deficit has the gap widens, and also the fall of rupee, so which made them to trigger, so to take that investments and to sell their investments in India, and they have taken the money from India to outside. So that's why we have a net minus 11.7 billion investments in March. But the FDI investors, so these FDI investors are strongly believing that still, even these foreign direct investments, they are strongly believing that the long-term growth probability of India. That's why we are getting a positive investments in the FDI, but not in the FII. And might be the reasons, this West Asian war and energy and India's energy dependency. These are the which hampers the transshipment facilities also, and which increases the fuel prices, and also the inflation got increased. So these are the reasons. Definitely it impacts the Indian market, Indian economy. So that's why they sold their investments in India, and they have taken that money. And also these foreign governments, like the American Federal Reserve, what they did, so they increased the interest rates. When they increase the interest rates, what happens? They think that they will get more returns in the foreign economies or the foreign investments comparing to with the India. So that helps the rupee to fall. And we have seen that the appreciation of the rupee is due to two important factors. One is the possible intervention of the RBI, and the second is like the positive outcome is coming from the Israel, US, and Iran talks. So next important article we'll discuss was cyber warfare is outpacing the global legal accountability. Very important article. What it tells that, like the previous wars, it is fighting using army, like tanks, aircraft, or ships. So this is how previously wars used to fight. Even now they are fighting like that. But in these wars we can clearly see who is the aggressor. Who is the aggressor? Because even the present West Asia war, how it started, like US fired a missile to the Iran. So that's how US fired their Tomahawk missiles to the Iran. So that's how we can clearly see who is the aggressors. And based on that, we can discuss the international laws. International laws. Even the international laws also works like that. But as the parallel in the same West Asia war, West Asia war. So as the parallel, the cyber warfare also happened. The cyber warfare, like the spread of misinformation. The spread of misinformation or the information warfare. Hacking the important websites. So the Israel has hack the important websites of the Iran. Hacking important websites, and also stopping some important apps to work. Important apps to work. So these are the important, this is how the present warfare, like the two parallel forms of warfare is happening. Two parallel forms. One is a physical war which fights with missiles, drones and all. And the second one is the cyber warfare which impacts the websites, important government websites, apps, and spreading misinformation. As from the recent reports, every day humans spending 6 hours in digital world. 6 hours every day on an average in the digital world. So 6 hours daily, which means the digital space is also getting very important. And also, especially, like you see recently the Mythos AI came. So everyone worried about the financial markets or the financial institutions like banking and other important sectors, the government services sector, or even the power grids, hospitals, these all. So lot of things, economical institutions, even the public infrastructure. So with the cyber warfare, everything is in the risk. Every institution, every sector is in the risk because of the cyber warfare. And the most important thing with the cyber warfare, in the physical warfare, we can clearly see who is the aggressor, who started the war. So who has to get more punishment. These are all things which we can see in the normal physical war, conventional war. But when it comes to the cyber warfare, what happens? It's always very difficult to find who does what, who does what. These are all things. When the cyber warfare, what happens? It's always difficult to find who is the aggressor. So why? Because he may stay in some other country and he reroute. For example, if the Israel attacks the Iran, so it will reroute its network from the Turkey or in some European country, and it's impossible to trace. So if you want to punish a person, you need some evidence. If you don't have any evidence, how you can go down? Even the courts can give him a punishment. That is the real problem when it comes to the cyber warfare. Even the international laws are very weak. International laws are very weak when it comes to the cyber warfare. Okay. So what the author is suggesting in this article, so even the India has a critical problem with its cyber infrastructure. India has a vast cyber infrastructure. Even the governments are promoting the digital India. If it is more digital, we become more vulnerable to cyber warfare. More digital means more vulnerable to cyber warfare. As simple as that. If you travel more on the roads, you will be more prone to accidents also. If you travel more on the highways, definitely you are more prone. Simple as the mathematics. So more digital India becomes. So the more digital India becomes, and more vulnerable to cyber warfare, especially from the China, Pakistan. These people, they are very good at this cyber warfare, especially with the China. Okay, so the author is suggesting India should do two important things. One, it should strengthen the cyber defense, which means it has to build some institutions. It has to protect its major digital infrastructure like its banking, power grids, or other important UPI like very important. You know that how important is UPI in everyday's person in today's world. Okay, so next important thing, India should play important role in shaping global governance, in shaping global governance cyber accountability, towards the cyber accountability. Like we have certain laws, certain rules against the terror infrastructure and these terror activities, including the war activities. But in the global world, the global governance to the cyber accountability is very low. So the author is telling that India should take very important role in the leading role to promote the cyber accountability throughout the world. This is what the author is telling. Yeah. So next important article, which we can clearly see, the Modi's Europe may pave the way for the collaboration. So Prime Minister Modi, he visited few countries recently, UAE, so some Nordic countries and also Netherlands. So he visited some countries, some important countries, and he also held that India Nordic Summit also he conducted, India Nordic Summit. So what are the important agreements and what is the use? What is the use? So the important use, because these Nordic countries are already, they're very super strong. They're super strong in the renewable technologies. Renewable technologies, very important. They're super strong in the renewable technologies and also other important technologies, even including the AI also, AI based cooperation also. They have made some deals, and also energy cooperation. For example, these Nordic countries like the Norway or the Sweden, they have the very good petroleum reserves. Even they supply the petrol and gas. As India is an energy dependent nation, India need to access these kind of petrol and gas and about the energy. And also in the future, the Arctic is opening up. Means it's opening up means the ice is melting very rapid pace. So new navigational lines and the new sites for the gas reserves and the energy reserves are opening up. So this is the right time India to make a deals with these kind of Nordic countries, and also with the UAE also they have some deals, and including the European Union. These are very important countries about the European Union. So to fully utilize the European Union free trade deal agreement with India, so you need very good cooperation with these countries. Okay, and also why European Union need India? So that is the real question. Why European Union need India? Because the European Union also previously too much dependent on single players like the Russia for energy, and also China. Because now most of the goods so imported is from the China. So they understood that too much dependence on one single country will impact their economies in the long term. So if there is any global conflict like that at present, so definitely it will impact them in the long term. So they are also seeing that, so some more potential partner, some more additional potential partner as with the China. So China plus one, you can say, China plus one policy. So that's why like India perfectly fits in this bracket. Some alternative towards the China. So they want to diversify their imports. So they don't want to rely on one single partner. So that's why for them India is very important, and to access the market, India has very good market, big size of market, and the reciprocation is same with India. India can also access the benefit with the Europe. So India will also have the more important market. For example, recent the US tariffs like the Trump tariffs on India. So on its aqua goods or the other important textile exports and all. So that kind of scenarios can be mitigated with having a good relations with other important major market like the European Union. So it has a both. So both ways it is a win-win situation for India and Europe. So that's why this trip has made some certain agreements, like certain MOUs possible, especially in the like renewable technology, AI, energy, cooperation, Arctic, including the rare earth metals. So these are very important, and also and renewable technology, because India very quickly want to be an energy independent nation. For energy independence, the renewable technology is very, very important, and these Nordic countries are the leaders in this renewable technology. So having the cooperation with these countries, which definitely improve the India's position when it comes to the energy independence. So that's why this trip is very important, and we definitely will give, we expect some good fruits for India in the future. So these are the important articles of today, and we'll meet tomorrow with the tomorrow's newspaper. Thank you for being with us, and please do subscribe for the future updates.